facing a Tulane team that's 0-5 and been outscored by an average of almost 42.5 to 9. Do you worry about focus and intensity going into a game like this?
Not really. You know, I think these kids are above that. We're not at the point in our program yet where we can walk in and say we're going to dominate a team and not be ready to play. So I'm not real worried about it. It's going to be a tough ball game down there. They always have been. I go back 2 years ago where we were down at halftime and had to come back and win it in the fourth quarter. So you know, every game in Conference USA can go any way.
What do you see from Tulane when you study the film that makes you think it'll be a tough game?
Well, I think they've got some really good schemes on offense, and their offense hasn't gelled. They got a new coaching staff, and you know, their quarterback's coming back. He was hurt in the Tulsa game, and they were in a couple. You know, they were in those first two ball games till he went down. So, yeah, I'm preparing the kids that hey, that quarterback back, and they got that good running back and Darkwa. They're going to be a handful down there.
Tulane's offense is averaging about 13 first downs a game, and a little over 8 of that is through the air. Do you then load the secondary and dare them to run? I mean, I know they've got Orleans Darkwa, and they've got another guy who's had a majority of the carries, but do you try to take the ball out of the air and make them beat you on the ground?
Well, I think you got to play what they do, and you know, I don't know what their game plan is going to be going in. I know they're talking they want to establish a running game and get that thing going, and I've always believed in football you stop the run game first, and you can live with what happens in the passing game, because if you can allow a team to run the ball on you, you got problems. So yeah, we're going in with our normal stuff. We're going to try to dominate third down, stop the run game, and points allowed.
Their new head coach, Curtis Johnson, was actually an assistant for a year at SMU. How much do you know about him? Have you crossed paths with him in the past, and how different are his philosophies than those of his predecessor?
Well, yeah, I've known him from when he was with the Saints a little bit. We went down to their camp a couple times, but yeah, he's kind of in transition right now, and you can see the professional style offense with what they're trying to do. I think that's got a lot of just trying to get this team focused on what they want to do and try to grow that first year and get his program established. That's where I see they're at with him right now.
Tulane's been outscored 64-3 in the first quarter and 45-0 in the third. Does that make a fast start in each half even more important for you than it usually is?
Well, I think so. That's the thing with a team like this. When you're facing an 0-5 team, you got to go out and you got to start fast, and you got to remove all doubt from them, because if you let those guys hang around, and I've said this for years in coaching, if you let a team hang around that really is not sure they can beat you, but pretty soon they gain confidence, and you can't let this group gain confidence, because they got enough weapons they can beat you if you don't play well.
You mentioned the running back, Orleans Darkwa. Last year he finished second to Zach Line in the conference in rushing. This other guy, Rob Kelly, has had the most carries this year. Who do you expect to see more of on Saturday, and how different are they, or how different is their offense and their play calling when they swap out the different running backs?
Yeah, there's nothing really different about it. Darkwa hurt his ankle or had an injury earlier in the year, and he's kind of limped through it. The other kid's a big, strong, downhill type running back, so there's really not a lot of change up when they're in there. They're going to run the zone plays and do what they do, and I think either one of them is pretty good back.
You mentioned their quarterback, Ryan Griffin's the starter, is supposed to be back this week. Tulane's coach, Curtis Johnson, said, you know, having the veteran back changes everything. You've seen him before. Would you rather see the young guy, the inexperienced guy, or a guy that you've already played against?
You know, I think with him coming back, it creates some confidence for him, and it gives him something to build on. I'd like to have him go back to the bench and see the backup kid come back in. I mean, that's one of our goals, is that we got to get after him, and we got to keep pressure on him, and we can't let him get comfortable, because I went back and watched last year's film of him. He's a good quarterback. In the first game and a half that he played in this year, they were in those games until he went down. So we got to get pressure on him. We got to force him to do some things and make him question whether he's really 100% healthy.
Obviously, you saw that first game and a half this year. You've seen him in years past. What does he do well? Why is he the best option for that offense?
Well, he's a pure quarterback, and the thing he can do is he can control the offense. He knows where to go with the ball when you're pressuring him. He's got that moxie that starting quarterbacks have, and that's one of the things they've been missing, is their backup hasn't been that type of guy for them. So, you know, the kids are going to play well around him because they believe in what he's done, and he's done it before. So that's going to be a big factor in that game.
You hear coaches, particularly defensive coaches, always say, we'd rather give up field goals than touchdowns. They haven't missed a field goal yet. Is this one of those weird games where you'd almost rather keep their offense on the field and keep their kicker standing on the sideline watching?
Well, yeah, but yeah, that kicker's pretty good at 100%. And the thing I know is we got the big Estonian, and when they line up for field goal, that guy better be right on it or we'll block it.
You've pitched 2 shutouts this year, and you don't often talk about stats in advance and that kind of thing, but do you allow yourself, either individually or as a team, to talk about more shutouts?
No, not really. I mean, we talk about winning the game. That's the bottom line. If the shutout comes, that's great, but I never talk about it. I won't let the coaches talk about it in the headsets during the games. That's a jinx, and it's just one of those things that you never talk about those kind of things. You just talk about winning the ball game, what it's going to take. I mean, if it's 31-30 and we win, that's great.
Your secondary has been beaten up by injuries this year. Ryan Smith went down, and like June Jones said the other day, you've lost 3 cornerbacks who he said are starting caliber corners. How much juggling are you doing, not so much in personnel, but in scheme-wise, in terms of scheme, in order to compensate for the injuries in the back end?
Well, you always got 2 different plans going in, and you got your base plan that you hope we can hold up at that position, but if a kid gets in a matchup that he's struggling with, you got to go to some different schemes, and we've done that since we've been here. Always went into the game plan with 2 different thoughts. You know, if a kid's struggling, we got to get into some different type coverages to help him, and I always have that ready to go. Last week, I was thinking at halftime we're probably going to have to adjust a lot of our calls to help K-Rob, and he held up really well, so we just called the game like we had it planned, and hopefully that can happen. I mean, we tell these kids they got to step up, and injuries are part of it, so you just live with it. I mean, that's college coaching. If you're in a pros, you go out and find about 3 more, but we just don't have that luxury.